Contrary to popular belief, you can improve your memory. What was I going to say? So we've already talked about listening and focusing. And when we're taking in new information, oftentimes we feel like that we're drinking from a fire hose. That's usually a lot of information to take in at once. So much to the point where we feel like the information gets lost in our head and we can't recall it when we want to. So how can we improve that? Well, we got 5 points and tips that should help you with that. Point number 1, take an interest. Taking an interest or being interested is a very important factor when it comes to memory improvement and retention. If we make it a habit to be observant and to take an interest in other people, while also paying attention to what's going on around us, our mind is going to be stimulated. And it's easy to pay attention when you're entertained. Now, when I mentioned to pay attention to what's going on around you, there's a balance there where you're paying attention but also not distracted. Now, things that are going on around you could also be life events that are occupying space in your head. You start daydreaming about the things that are going on within everyday life, the stresses of life. But as I mentioned before, that external stimuli is very important. Because when you're interested in something, it makes it a lot easier for you to interact and craft meaningful responses that correspond to the interest or topic at hand. For instance, when we read or hear something of value. Item number 2, remembering people's names. A lot of people struggle when it comes to remembering people's names. Now, 2 simple tips that one can do to improve that recollection, and also let's remember that it is very powerful and an excellent rapport builder when you can remember someone's name, whether that's a customer, a person you want to date, a friend. If you remember that person's name, they're going to like you more. So the first point is, during your first interaction, use their name as often as you can, without being awkward. But the idea is that the more often you say their name, you are going to end up tying that name to that face. Now, if you're not in person, say you are on the phone, if you have access to a profile picture or any other type of likeness of that person, you can look at that while using the name and have a similar effect. Number 2, when you do forget someone's name, oftentimes people will say something along the lines of like, "Oh, I'm really bad at remembering names. What was your name?" Knock that off. Instead, say something like, "I'm usually really good at remembering names, but I forgot yours. I'm sorry. Can you remind me of it?" If you keep telling yourself that you are usually good at this thing and you just slipped up, your brain is actually going to start believing that. And you are actually going to start remembering people's names, as opposed to telling yourself that, "Oh, I'm no good at this." Always be constructive. Item number 3, mentally anchor the information. Now, obviously, if you read or hear something, you want to be able to remember it and recall it at a later time. One of the things that you can do to help with that is to tie that information to something that you already find interesting. Say you need to keep track of something, whether it's for your health, your family, your business, and the information just isn't interesting to you. Anchor it to something that you are already knowledgeable about or have an interest in. It will help with recollection later on. Interest and comprehension play a huge role when it comes to retaining information. If you're not interested in what you're listening to or reading, you're likely not going to remember it. You also won't retain information if your mind is elsewhere while you're reading or listening. But if it's something important that you really need to remember, that mental anchor is really going to come in handy. Plus, remembering important events like your wedding anniversary is also going to make your life easier. So when you're able to take that subject that might be less interesting and you're able to tie it to something that is interesting and you're able to simplify it so you can understand it yourself, when you can relay that to other people and break it down so that they can understand it, it makes you a more effective teacher, which makes you a more influential person. Comprehension is also improved when you use phrases rather than just words. Think of why catchphrases are so catchy. If you create your own little rhymes or songs to help you recall certain types of information, the brain is going to have an easier time remembering what that information is. Item number 4, take time to review. Experts emphasize how important it is to take the time to review something, look over the information, review it. Crucial. Item number 5, meditate on the important points. Meditating on important points will not only help improve our memory and retain important facts, but if you make this a habit, you can impress upon yourself those positive principles and thoughts and improve your overall character and skills. The memories that are made are going to end up representing your innermost thoughts. We see this taught with professionals like Tony Robbins, or things in like the law of attraction, or overall positive thinking. So to recap, do you remember all 5 points? Number 1, take an interest. When you're interested in somebody, 1, it helps you remember the information or remember things about that topic or individual. Plus, when you're interacting with other people and you take an interest, it makes them feel important. Number 2, remembering people's names. Remember, you're good at remembering names, you just forgot one. And use names as often as you can during those first few interactions so that you can tie that name to the face. Number 3, use mental anchors to remember important information. Take information that is maybe difficult to remember or not as interesting and tie it to something that you do remember or that is interesting. Tie it to knowledge that you already have to make it easier to recall. Number 4, take the time to review. Remember, it's crucial. Experts in the field of education emphasize how important that is. Number 5, meditate on the important points. Remember those important principles, take them to heart, and the overall result is improved skills and overall character. It's always sad when someone loses their memory, so treat yours well. Feed it well, exercise it like any other muscle. You know what they say, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Have a wonderful day.